pride for Everton, who move up to 11th in the table on 18 points from their 12 games. Now frustration for Manchester United. It was the year anniversary, wasn't it? Exactly a year between Ruben Amorim's first game and this one today. They stay 10th in the table on 18 points, so level on points for, with Everton. Let's get some reaction to that bizarre incident in the first half with our rules expert, Christina Unkel, who joins us now. Christina, great to see you as always. Firstly, explain the rule, because basically the gist of it is it doesn't matter who you fight, whether it's your team, the opposing team, the referee, anyone else, you're going to get sent off.
Yeah, you hit the word on the head. Bizarre as can be. I know in my referee career, I've never had to issue a red card for teammates fighting. And the irony is, right, this the red card was directly for violent conduct, under Law 12. It's very easy to see the reasoning as to why. Now, previously, IFAB years ago actually did not have red cards for when teammates actually struck each other. The law said violent conduct only occurs when against opposing player. Now it also includes teammates as to that, and so that's why we saw the red card here. But just a very, very interesting, but now you see it's very, very clear there in Law 12, fouls and misconducts. Doesn't matter who you end up striking, they will be issued a red card, and that's what we saw here. Like I said, not very normal. If this was not on your bingo card today on a Monday, that's okay. It was on no one's bingo cards that we would see two players striking each other. And I think, as you guys mentioned, it quite a bit bizarre, a little bit of handbags going on there, but interesting. I'm probably more curious on what's going to be happening in the locker room, to be quite honest, after this.
Oh, yeah, that's where the job of a reporter comes in, because we do want to find out in terms of what those conversations were. And David Moyes is not someone to hold back either. But, Christina, I just want to know if it has the same ramifications in terms of a punishment. What sort of type of ban is he looking at overall? Does it hold the same qualifications if he was to strike an opposition player to striking your own?
Yes, same qualifications in the sense of how many games you're disbanded. This one's a bit interesting because you don't see these given down, right? You typically, it's also dependent upon the league, but here in Premier League, right, if you're given a red card, if it's for violent conduct, it's a minimum of 2 games, usually sit out. This will be interesting to see how they treat this one with respect to, are they going to differentiate it because it is a teammate, or is it going to rise or escalate to a level? Naturally, a club would not be, Everton's not going to be asking for more time. They'll probably be asking for less time, but it would be treated exactly the same as if he had struck another opponent.
You mentioned violent conduct there is where this falls in terms of the rules, Christina. What designates violent conduct? And we're talking about whether it's a fight against your own, with a member of your own team or someone else. Do they actually, if he'd swung at him and say missed, for example, he tried to slap him, but he missed Michael Keane's face, does that count? Is it just the attempt to hit someone?
Yep, it's the attempt, as you mentioned. You don't always necessarily need to strike. Cards, whether they're red cards, they're yellow cards, are meant to prevent that type of action and to player safety. So whether you're striking or attempting to strike, it falls into this violent conduct. And actually a really great point there is you hit, not saying that anytime you strike somebody, the ball does or doesn't have to be present, right? A direct strike, even if the ball is present, is one of those conditions that jump above. But typically when we say the difference between, right, let's say it wasn't a strike, between reckless play and serious foul play is really whether or not the ball was within playing distance. Striking situation like this doesn't matter where the ball is, but for other plays, other situations as to where we determine whether it turns into violent conduct or serious foul play, the ball at issue is really where the question is. Did they have the chance to play the ball in a fair manner? If the answer is yes, and the ball's around, but yet they missed, serious foul play. If no, ball's not within vicinity, then we chalk that up to violent conduct. Fighting, always violent conduct.
OK, Christina, we'll leave it there. Great insight, as always. Thanks so much for joining us here on Scoreline. We'll speak to you soon.
Cheers.
JD, it was an interesting game, almost mired, really, by that incident in the first half. And all credit goes to Everton that, despite what happened, they were able to settle themselves, get the goal, and then hold on to it.
I really feel like if you were to describe a David Moyes performance, that was it. It had a bit of everything in terms of grit, a little bit of fighting, a little bit of togetherness. But in terms of, if you look at the stats, you're going to think, oh, no, it's a complete overload in terms of for Manchester United. But I didn't think at any point there was a dominant or a clear-cut chance or Manchester United were wasting opportunities. There were spells in which, of course, as you would expect, being the away team at Old Trafford, you're going to have to defend and dig deep. But I felt like Everton, as a collective, came in with a game plan, whether it was 10 men or 11 men, and they knew that they were going to have to fight for each other. It obviously was enhanced with the absence of Idrissa Gueye, but at the same time, I thought the qualities that they showed, especially from the defensive side of the ball, was sensational. But you sounded like you were almost upset that if he's going to get a ban, he didn't get a full whacking or get his money's worth. Is that how you're looking at it?
I just was interested. I wondered whether, you know, if you try and hit someone but you miss, does that mean that it counts as a card or not? Cleared up as well there by Christina Unkel. Let's talk about Jordan Pickford. It was a clean sheet, superb performance there. Saying he's prevented almost 2 goals. An important season for him, really, obviously looking ahead to the World Cup next year.
He's established himself as England's #1 for a long period of time now, and I think when you've seen historically how many tournaments goalkeepers get, this would probably be Jordan Pickford's last. I'm not trying to turn around and say that Jordan Pickford is declining at any point, but if you're looking at the young development of goalkeepers that are coming through, especially English goalkeepers, Trafford comes to mind, Ramsdale comes to mind, they're going to be wanting to apply a lot of pressure onto him because he's held down at #1 position for a number of tournaments now. We've seen Jordan Pickford, and in fairness to him, whatever you say about his domestic form, his form for country has always been sensational. He's always been one of the leading goalkeepers in terms of representing England, both with his feet and also his shot-saving ability. So I think he's always given me an interesting query, and I've always thought to myself, could he play higher? Could he play at a Champions League consistently? Could he allow himself to grow in terms of to be a #1 for a title contender? Because I think he's showcased over his career a number of qualities, and he has performances like this. But one thing I do think that he demonstrates, which isn't on the stat sheet, is loyalty. And he's very loyal in terms of to the teams that believe in him, whether that's club or country, and he really does wear his heart on his sleeve. Who's the first person you see trying to deflect and to separate in terms of the players in that moment? That shows me about the respect and the command that he has, that he can pull an experienced player like Idrissa Gueye and say, look, don't leave yourself with any further ramifications to leave us for a further ban or 3 on 4 games because you decided to stay on the pitch. The decision's done, so let's work on from here. But what's your thoughts on that?
He's a big character in the dressing room as well. I think that's important, and a team that would love plenty more big characters in the dressing room. Manchester United, not the greatest performance at all from them today. So frustrating when they're playing against a team with 10 men for much of the game that they weren't even able to score. What do you think this says about the Manchester United project under Ruben Amorim? I mentioned the anniversary. It's a year since he joined the club in the first Premier League game when they played Ipswich. Do you see much of an improvement?
I mean, listen to the United fans that are online. I mean, there's enough fans in terms of that go viral all the time. Saeed, Ransom, Bants, what do they tell you? 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Sometimes it's 2 steps backwards. Because I think Manchester United and their fans need to accept that the quality that's in this team is going to lead to inconsistent performances like this. Yes, I think the last month has been, I would say, flattering to them. I mean, winning the manager of the month in terms of the clean sheets that they developed, it was a good spell. I mean, even me, Adam,
I got player of the month as well.
Adam, I'm telling you honestly, like I put Matthias de Ligt and I put Brian and Mbeumo in my fantasy team because I thought this is the turning point in terms of for a Manchester United point. But again, the struggles. When a team gives them a low block, can they handle it? Have they got the creative power? When I look at their team, I see the creative players. I see your Amid Diallos. I see your Brian Mbeumo, who you made reference to with Fernandes. Well, of course, has been sensational in terms of for his Manchester United career as an individual. But once again, it's that final third. And I think they're still missing someone that strikes fear into opposition in terms of in your shape of a Erling Haaland or even João Pedro or Leon Delap. Someone that really strikes you like, whoa, I'm up against it today. Today is going to be a really physical battle. We looked it up before we came in, the production. When was the last time Joshua Zirkzee scored? It's been almost a year since he scored in the league. That's a long time for a Manchester United #9. Whether you're starting or not, to have a lack of goals.
If you were a United fan, where do you think would be a good finish? What would be considered success this season?
I think there's got to be a lot of pressure because of the disappointment of last year. There's been investment that's been put into this team. Let's be honest, like you're talking about £100 million in terms of certain departments. Mason Mount wasn't cheap. Amid Diallo has, of course, come from the academy prospects. But when you're leaving out certain players like Kobbie Mainoo, who's been screaming for opportunities, Bruno Fernandes has been developing one time after the other, Benjamin Sesko is another investment that's been in this team. Matthias de Ligt wasn't cheap. There are a lot of players that's at turning points. Luke Shaw, we talked about his expiring contract, as well as a number of other players. This is no longer we're wondering or we're working out whose team this is. This is Ruben Amorim's team. And so I need to see results on the pitch. The whole world is waiting to see results on the pitch. This 3-4-3 system that you've almost promised that you're going to die by, well, you need to either live or die by it. It's very simple because it needs to produce results on a consistent basis. Manchester United is one of the leading clubs in world football. If you go to Old Trafford, the theatre of dreams, what does it sell you? The impossible dream. There's a reason why they say that. Made possible. So they need to make this situation very possible very soon.
If they don't get into Europe, is that him gone?
It has to be. What's the progression? Because if we're not talking about it, there's teams around you that haven't invested nowhere near the amount of teams in the progressing, i.e. your Crystal Palaces are flying. Brighton showing consistency. Even Keith Andrews, what he's doing at Brentford, they're showing that they can take those steps up. Your rivals are going to leave you way behind, and it could turn into an even bigger problem if you don't start pushing yourself back into those European competitions. Because Newcastle are doing fantastic. Arsenal have set the standard this year. Chelsea, Man City chasing behind. Liverpool will respond. At some point, whether you believe this is a blip, there's too much quality in that squad to not respond. Spurs, heavy investment. They know that they're at a turning point. You're running out of players, and Aston Villa are creeping into the top 4. There's some serious players in the Premier League that are showcasing that they can perform in both European competitions and domestically. Manchester United can't keep missing out on European competitions year after year and thinking it's OK, because you won't attract the top players anymore.
Yeah, because it's so competitive as well. I mean, there's only 6 or so spots to get into Europe, and I think you mentioned about 9 teams there. That's the thing. It shows how competitive it is.
But Adam, the English teams broke the record this year. How many English teams are in the Champions League? How many English teams are showcasing they can do it at the highest level? The proficiency is there in terms of showcasing that if the Premier League consistently shows what they can do in European competitions, we'll reward them with the extra spaces. What then needs to happen is Manchester United need to roll their collars up and say to themselves, why are we not in those positions? The quality is there. Mateus Cunha is in that team. Brian Mbeumo is in that team. Benjamin Sesko has come for a load of money. There's no excuse as to why Manchester United, under this system, with this manager, cannot put themselves into European competitions.
Yeah, and they also haven't got the excuse of saying, oh, well, we're playing in previous seasons, we're playing in Europe, we're playing in all these competitions, maybe haven't got the squad to be able to compete on all of those fronts. They haven't got that excuse this season. They've got an entire week to prepare for these games. So certainly hasn't been good enough so far in the Premier League for Manchester United.